Talking about benefits, Indonesia has engaged with both China's Belt and Road Initiative and the U.S. Indo-Pacific Economic Framework. So how can Indonesia effectively balance its partnership with these two major nations?
Indonesia's success is based on being open to collaborate and trade with everyone. 25% of exports go to China, 15% to the European Union, 10% to the United States. And that diversification of trading partners has served the country very well. And I would add, it is good to have Indonesia building bridges, because we are in a world when we need each other even more. The climate crisis, the pandemic, they're telling us each on our own we are weak. Together we are much stronger.
Talking about partnership with China, 30% with Indonesia. So how do you perceive the current economic slowdown in China and its implications for Indonesia? How do you see that?
When China had a good first quarter, the opening up of the economy contributed to fairly dynamic growth. Since then, what we see are problems in the real estate sector, as well as the high debt of local governments playing a more restrictive role to China's growth. And of course, we also see the geopolitical tensions growing. For China to grow is important not only for China. China's growth, 1%, leads to, over time, 0.3% growth in the rest of Asia. So in that sense, China has policy space, fiscal and monetary policy space. And it would be wise to use this space to prop up the economy, not only for its own goal of achieving around 5% growth this year, but because of the spillover impact this would have on Asia, the rest of Asia.
Right. Now, talking about Indonesia. Now, Indonesia holds a significant positions in the global nickel market, crucial for electric vehicle productions. So, what are the potential economic and environmental impacts of Indonesia's involvement in the EV supply chain?
Indonesia holds about half of the global market of nickel. And nickel is critical for the development of electric vehicles and green mobility. And it is right for Indonesia to aspire to produce not only nickel, but to go up on the value chain and to play a role in the EV production and the rapidly growing EV market. And I know that here in Indonesia, there is a very high recognition of how significant Indonesia is for the global environment. Biodiversity, the incredible richness of minerals in Indonesia, and of course very talented people. So I do hope that we would see Indonesia pursuing that path of diversification. This is what we have been recommending to the country, and going up on the value chain.
Pursuing that positive, what we have here in Indonesia. So back again, what did Mr. Luhut Panjaitan, this is quite personal, propose to IMF that led to a change in the IMF's perspective on Indonesia's downstreaming policy, ultimately resulting in the IMF acknowledging it as a suitable and beneficial policy for Indonesia and its people. This is quite
but we had a great meeting with Pak Luhut. We are old friends, and we cleared the air, because what Indonesia wants to achieve and what the fund aspires to see in Indonesia is the same. We want Indonesia to continue to diversify. We are very keen to see Indonesia in 2045 being a high-income country. Cannot be achieved without this diversification. What is our worry at the fund? It is not about Indonesia. It is about the world as a whole. We have seen more and more and more trade restrictions. They have tripled over the last years. As a result, global trade has slowed down. Now it is only 2%. This is less than global growth. You know, traditionally, trade grows faster, and it is an engine for growth.
Yeah.
For this reason, we are saying to everybody, to the US, to the EU, to Indonesia, communicate commitment to open trade. Be careful, because when the genie of protectionism is let out of the bottle, it's very difficult to put it back.
Oh, okay.
We have seen the world in the past going on this protectionist route. It has never ended well for people.
Okay. So it's hard to put genie back in the bottle.
Hard to put the genie back. And Paulo Huth and I had very good discussion around these lines. And I'm so grateful he came to see me so we can clear the air on this topic. I want to add something. I just realized the first time I came to Indonesia was 25 years ago, 1998.
Wow.
What I see is so remarkable. The country has transformed. It is a dynamic country with a lot of optimism and hope of people.
Okay.
This is what we need. This is what we need for the rest of the world, that kind of optimism. So I want to say from the bottom of my heart, my very best wishes to Indonesia to continue on this path to prosperity.
Right. It's really nice, good to hear that. It means that you already know Indonesia such a long way, such a long time. So talking about Indonesia and our economic growth, does the IMF agree with the Indonesian government's claim that the current economic conditions in Indonesia are better than other countries? What are the factors that have kept Indonesia's economy resilient amidst the global turmoil?
Well, that is actually correct. Indonesia is performing in comparison to most of the world quite well. Indonesia has managed to sustain a very tight fiscal policy, despite the fact that it needed to support people during the pandemic. Very quickly, it returned to fiscal sustainability, actually 1 year ahead of schedule. Not many countries are able to do that. And Indonesia has been fast to bring inflation down. So when we compare what is happening in the rest of the world, many other countries, inflation is still high. Even if it is going down globally, it has not gone down enough for interest rates to also go down. Whereas in Indonesia, inflation has gone down to the government's target. Also, Indonesia's diversification, it creates jobs and opportunities to people. Very important, not just here in Jakarta, but all across Indonesia. So in that sense, the government is right to say strong policies and relentless implementation of these policies put Indonesia in a good position in a very difficult time for the world economy.
Relentless. So how do you compare Indonesia with Vietnam, for example? How do you see that?
These are countries at different stages of development. Vietnam is with income per capita at a lower level than Indonesia, and it is competing more on the basis of low labor costs. It attracts foreign investments in that regard. Now with some outflows of investments from China, that benefits Vietnam. Indonesia is with a higher income already. It is a country with very rich commodities and a much more diversified economy. It attracts investments in a different direction than Vietnam. What is common between the two countries is the soundness of policies. In both cases, we see fairly firm hand behind the economic policy wheel. And it is also the fact that they are open, dynamic economies.
Well, thank you very much, Kristalina Georgieva, for your insights about our economic growth here in Indonesia and also from ASEAN. I mean, like harmony in diversity is going to be our keyword here nowadays in ASEAN Summit. Hopefully it's going to translate in a better ways. Thank you very much once again, Kristalina Georgieva, Managing Director, International Monetary Funds. Thank you very much.
Thank you.